What would you do if you were working the drive-thru and saw your teen coworker break down in tears as her car got repossessed, while customers watched in shock? Now imagine you're the Undercover CEO. Marcus Clay, just a few years ago, was flipping burgers in a tiny rented space. Now, he's the founder of a fast food chain exploding across the country. Over 50 locations built on the promise of affordable food and a genuine family-first culture. That was his mission. That was his pride. But lately, something felt wrong. The numbers looked good on paper, but the feeling in his gut told a different story. Whispers turned into murmurs, and then into outright shouts echoing online. Rumors of overworked shifts, managers who didn't care, a culture cracking under the pressure of rapid growth. And then came the undeniable, crushing evidence, a viral TikTok video. You probably saw it. A teenage employee, cornered at the counter, being relentlessly screamed at by a customer, with seemingly no support from management. Marcus watched that video, and it felt like a betrayal of everything he'd built. Regional reports painted a rosy picture. Everything's fine, just growing pains, but the sheer volume of complaints, the sky-high employee turnover, the raw emotion on that teen's face, they screamed a different truth. He knew he couldn't fix this from an executive office, buried in spreadsheets. He had to see it, feel it, live it. He had to go back to the ground floor. The decision was made. Marcus Clay, the CEO, was going undercover. He picked the location with the worst scores, the most complaints, the highest turnover, and prepared to walk through its doors not as the boss, but as the newest, lowest-paid fry cook. He needed to know, was his family breaking apart? The first step into the shadows meant shedding the skin of Marcus Clay, the man everyone recognized. The tailored suits were replaced by ill-fitting khakis and an oversized, slightly stained polo shirt, the standard uniform. He trimmed the familiar beard, adjusted his posture, and practiced a different name in the mirror. Mark. Anonymous. Just another new hire. Walking in felt like stepping into a different dimension. It wasn't the clean, efficient machine pictured in corporate memos. It was louder, hotter, and frankly, more chaotic than he'd imagined. Orders piled up, tickets spewed from the machine, and everyone seemed to be moving at a frantic, slightly desperate pace. Operational? Yes. Thriving? That was a different question. His designated trainer, or rather, the person told to keep an eye on Mark, was introduced, Jesse, 17 years old, working the high-pressure drive-thru window. Marcus immediately noticed her, arrived before her shift, stayed late without complaint, and somehow, through the nonstop rush, maintained a determinately upbeat attitude, even when you could see the exhaustion in her eyes. She moved with a speed and efficiency that spoke of desperation, not just dedication. But the person truly running, or perhaps mis-running, the show was the manager, Tina. Cold, with an air of perpetual annoyance. The kind of person who saw employees as cogs, easily replaced. Her orientation for Mark, was less a welcome, more a warning shot. Tina's voice, sharp and cutting. Look, it's simple. Mess up, fall behind, you're out. Keep up or get out. Got it. Mark gives a simple nod, but his eyes are sharp, observing everything. The cracks he'd suspected were immediately visible. Jessie skipping her legally mandated break to keep working. The manager, Tina, disappearing into the back office during the peak lunch rush. Casual comments overheard about inconsistent scheduling that left staff in limbo. This wasn't just a busy store. It was a store running on the frayed nerves and sheer will of employees like Jessie, while leadership seemed absent, or worse, actively detrimental. The family culture he'd built felt a million miles away. And his first few minutes on the ground confirmed, his gut feeling was right. Something here was deeply broken. From behind the counter, the chaos wasn't just noise, it was a symphony of stress. And working right beside Mark was Jessie, a constant blur of motion. While other employees sometimes huddled, complaining, or slacked off when the manager wasn't looking, Jessie just worked, picking up dropped items, wiping down counters that weren't hers, bagging orders for coworkers who were falling behind. Never a word of complaint, just quiet, relentless effort. As Marcus kept his head down, his ears were open. He overheard conversations that turned his stomach. Co-workers, barely older than Jesse themselves, but hardened by the environment, making cruel jokes at her expense. Co-worker 1 said to co-worker 2, "Look at her go. Always broke, right? Probably sleeps in that car." Co-worker 2 responds, "Yeah, wonder how long until that thing gets towed." Huh. Marcus watched Jessie hear those words, saw her jaw tighten just for a second before she resumed her practiced, weary smile. He tried a different approach, gently asking her about her life during a rare, brief lull. "Hey, you were crazy hard, Jessie. Everything all right?" Jessie forces a brighter smile, avoids direct eye contact. "Oh yeah, just busy. Trying to get through senior year and save up for college. Gotta work for what you want, right?" The determination in her voice was clear, but so was the strain. And as the shift wore on, Marcus noticed something else. Frequent, worried glances at her phone. Her bright energy slowly drained away, replaced by a visible nod of anxiety. He saw her tapping out texts, her brow furrowed, finally holding the phone to her ear, her voice barely a whisper amidst the noise. "Please, I just need a couple more days. I have the hours. I promise." Marcus was watching her, her eyes wide with fear, hand trembling slightly as she held her phone. His blood ran cold. This wasn't just a tired teenager. This was someone teetering on the edge of a crisis. The whispers, the overwork, the forced smiles, it was all adding up to something far more serious. And he had a terrible feeling he was about to see exactly what it was. The tension in the air was now thick with impending disaster. Friday lunch rush. The peak of the week. The drive-through line snaked around the building. The pressure inside was immense. Mark and Jesse were in the thick of it, moving as fast as they could, sweat beading on their foreheads. Jesse was working with that same desperate intensity, bagging orders, handing them out the window. Her phone was tucked away, but her eyes kept darting towards the parking lot. The hush phone call Marcus overheard earlier now hung in the air like a bad omen. Suddenly, Jessie freezes, her eyes, wide with pure terror, locked onto something pulling into the parking lot. A tow truck, and it was heading directly for her beat-up, necessary car. Without a word, Jessie rips off her headset, abandoning her station without a second thought. She bursts out the drive-through door and runs towards the truck, a desperate, gut-wrenching plea already forming on her lips. Jessie reaches the tow truck, hands outstretched, tears starting to stream down her face as she pleads with the repo man. "No, please. You can't. My dad lost his job. We're trying. I just need the weekend to catch up on the payment. Please, I'm begging you." Customers at the counter and in the drive-thru are staring. Phones are subtly raised, recording. Whispers ripple through the crowd as they capture the raw humiliation playing out feet away. The manager, Tina, appears in the doorway, arms crossed, face hard and utterly devoid of empathy. She yells over the commotion, "Jesse, what do you think you're doing? Get back to your station right now, or clock out and go home." The manager's brutal words hit Jessie like a physical blow on top of the loss of her car. The repo man finishes hooking up the car. Jessie watched, utterly broken, as the tow truck pulled away, her car, her independence, her shaky grasp on stability, vanishing down the street. She stands alone in the parking lot, shoulders shaking with sobs, the tow truck gone. Marcus, standing inside, felt a rage building he hadn't experienced in years. This wasn't just a young employee having a bad day. This was a good kid, caught in an impossible situation, treated with breathtaking cruelty by the very system he had built. The breaking point wasn't just for Jesse, it was for him. The air inside felt thick with unvoiced shock. Co-workers exchanged uneasy glances. Customers still whispered, phones lowered but eyes wide. And there was Tina, the manager, already barking orders, trying to muscle past the awkwardness and force everyone back into the rhythm of the lunch rush as if nothing had happened. Marcus watches her, his jaw clenched, the sheer lack of humanity in her reaction curdling his stomach. He knew he couldn't explode here, not like this. Not yet. The disguise was still needed. But he absolutely had to confront her. Quietly. away from the eyes of staff and customers. As Tina turns and heads towards the small, cramped back office, Marcus follows her, the flimsy office door closing behind them, shutting out the restaurant noise but amplifying the sudden, suffocating tension between them. Tina turns, looking annoyed at being followed by the new guy. Marcus stands tall, his expression intense. You just stood there. You let that happen. You let that girl get publicly humiliated, her car taken, and then you threatened to fire her in the same breath. Tina shrugs, looking genuinely unconcerned, maybe checking something on a clipboard. She responds, "So, not my problem. She was behind on payments. That's on her. We got a line wrapped around the block, Mark. We don't have time for personal dramas." Marcus's eyes narrow, a vein throbbing in his temple. He takes a step closer and with a voice dropping even lower. "Personal dramas? That's one of your employees. A kid. You think being a manager means looking the other way? Ignoring your people when they're falling apart right in front of you?" Tina looks slightly taken aback by his intensity, but quickly recovers her dismissive attitude. "My job is to run this store and make money. Her car problems aren't in my job description. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a rush to manage." Marcus's eyes bore into hers. He doesn't yell, but his presence fills the small room. The authority of the CEO, barely contained beneath the uniform, is palpable. He clamped down on the urge to rip off the disguise right there. Not yet. He needed this interaction. He needed to see exactly how deep the rot went. But he also knew he couldn't leave Jessie out there, broken and alone. Marcus stands firm, blocking her path back to the door. His voice is quiet again, but absolutely firm, leaving no room for argument. "She's not coming back to her station today. Have her excused, with pay for the rest of her shift." Tina's eyes widen slightly in disbelief. She opens her mouth to protest. "What? Are you serious? We're slammed. And who are you to tell me?" Marcus holds her gaze. The look in his eyes silences her. It's not the look of a new hire. It's the look of someone with ultimate authority. She is excused, with pay. "Now, figure it out." Marcus turns and walks out of the office as abruptly as he entered, leaving a stunned and fuming Tina behind. He stepped back into the chaos of the restaurant. The immediate crisis point had passed, but the real work and the real reveal was just beginning. He had seen the broken system firsthand, and soon, everyone would know who had been watching. The shift ends. The initial rush is over, but the feeling in the air is heavy after the day's events. Staff are tired, some exchanging nervous glances. Marcus, still dressed as Mark, stands slightly apart, observing. Jessie had been asked to take some time off, thanks to Mark's quiet insistence. The staff, weary and shaken, were just going through the motions, waiting to clock out and escape the day. Marcus knew this was his moment. Not a moment for yelling, but for absolute clarity. Marcus stepped forward, clearing his throat to get the tired staff's attention. They look at him, mildly surprised. He gathered the remaining staff, including the manager, Tina, near the counter. Their eyes, dulled by a long, difficult day, turn towards the unassuming new guy, Mark. His hands go up to his head. He removes the slightly oversized, stained hat he's been wearing. Then, he slowly reaches up and takes off the thick-rimmed glasses that altered his appearance. The tired faces of the staff snapped to attention, brows furrowed in confusion, then eyes widened in stunned recognition. Murmurs died out completely. Silence fell over the restaurant, broken only by the hum of the refrigerators and the distant street noise. Tina, the manager, went visibly rigid, her face turning an ashen white. Marcus stands taller now, the slump of Mark gone. His voice is calm, resonant, and carries the full weight of his authority. "My name isn't Mark. My name is Marcus. Marcus Clay." The name echoed in the sudden silence. The founder, the CEO, standing right here, in their uniform. The shock was palpable. Marcus gestures slightly around the restaurant, his expression hardening slightly as he thinks of Jessie. "I started this company from nothing, with the belief that we would build something great, not just serve food, but build a community, a family. And today I stood here and I watched one of you His voice cracks just slightly, the emotion breaking through. I watched one of you get treated like absolutely nothing. Publicly humiliated, threatened, simply for struggling. That is not who we are. That is not my family. The silence that followed was deafening. The truth was out. The man who built the company had seen its heartbreaking firsthand. And everyone in that room knew, with chilling certainty, that absolutely everything was about to change. The reveal wasn't just a surprise. It was a reckoning. Staff are frozen in place. Tina looks like she's seen a ghost. The echo of "that is not my family" hung in the air. The shock was immense. The man they thought was a bumbling new hire was the very person who held their livelihoods in his hands. Marcus turns his direct, unwavering gaze towards Tina. She visibly recoils. His immediate focus was the source of the toxicity he'd witnessed. He didn't need a long deliberation. The decision was already made. Addressing Tina directly, his voice firm and official, he tells her, "Tina, consider yourself on immediate leave, pending a full internal review." Tina's jaw drops. She stammers, but no words come out. Other staff exchange wide-eyed glances. The reality of the situation crashed down on her. Her reign of cold dismissiveness was over, effective immediately. Marcus then turns his attention to the rest of the staff, his tone addressing them all, conveying the shift in power and priorities. "The rest of you, we have a lot to talk about. But first," Marcus looks around, specifically seeking out Jesse, the employee whose public heartbreak had triggered this entire intervention. He needed to speak to Jesse, privately. Jesse, still visibly upset, but holding it together, is near the back. His expression softens slightly as he approaches her. He pulled her aside, away from the others. His voice, no longer the commanding CEO, but a concerned person, was gentle. "Jesse, look at me. I'm so incredibly sorry you had to experience that. What happened to you today was unacceptable. But I need to understand. Are you okay? Really okay? What's going on at home? With your finances? Please tell me how we, the company, can help you right now." Overwhelmed, Jessie began to quietly explain the desperate situation with her family, the lost job, the missed payment. As she spoke, Marcus listened intently, the wheels already turning in his mind. This wasn't just about fixing one incident. It was about fixing a fundamental flaw in the system. Marcus steps slightly away from Jesse, pulling out his phone. He made a call, the kind that bypassed standard corporate channels and went straight to the top, because he was the top. "Get me head of HR," he said with a firm and no-nonsense tone. "Now, listen, we're setting up an emergency employee assistance fund. Effective immediately. No red tape. If an employee is facing a sudden crisis, like losing their car, they get immediate access to funds. No loans, immediate help. Make it happen today." He hung up, already feeling a sense of urgency. But there was more immediate action needed for Jesse. Marcus turns back to Jesse, his expression conveying reassurance and support. "Jesse, first, your hours are fully restored, immediately. And to help you get back on your feet, we're advancing you your next 2 paychecks. Don't worry about the car right now. Focus on getting stability back. We'll figure the rest out." Jessie could only nod, tears streaming down her face. But this time, they were a mix of pain and overwhelming relief. The boss she'd never met, disguised as a humble co-worker, had just seen her at her absolute lowest and extended a lifeline. The consequences of the broken system were being addressed, directly and forcefully, starting with the young woman who had suffered the most. The path to fixing the company, one employee at a time, had just begun. After the immediate storm passed, Tina was gone. The other staff had been sent home, reeling. But Marcus wasn't finished. He sat down with the 2 people who had shown him the true spirit of this store, Jessie and her shift lead, Devin, whom Marcus had noticed offering quiet support throughout the day. There were no bright lights, no corporate jargon, just 3 people in a quiet restaurant booth, grappling with the day's events. Marcus wanted to hear from them, truly hear. "Thank you both for staying. Today was a lot. For all of us. But I want to talk to you, away from everything else. Devin, I saw you today. I saw you looking out for Jesse, trying to keep things together. I appreciate that. More than you know. And Jesse. Marcus turns his gaze to Jesse, his expression full of empathy. What you've been going through and still coming in here, working like you do, it's incredible. Devin looks at Jesse, a quiet pride and concern on his face. He then turns to Marcus, speaking from the heart. Mr. Clay, if you don't mind me saying, Jesse, she's the backbone of this place, man. Seriously. Always here early, stays late. She picks up shifts for people who call out without asking for favors. She just does it, even when everyone else is, she's the heart of this place. Jesse looks down shyly, overwhelmed by the praise, tears welling up again. Marcus watches them both, a somber realization on his face. Devin's simple, powerful words struck a chord deep within him. The heart of this place. While management was absent and the system broken, employees like Jesse and Devin were holding it together through sheer grit and kindness. Marcus reaches across the table, gently placing a hand over Jesse's. Jesse, you have so much strength. I want you to know that everything that happened today will be handled. Completely. And for you, I want to help you finish strong. I'm setting you up with direct access to a mentorship program, someone who can guide you professionally and personally. And when it comes to college applications, don't stress. I'll personally make sure you have all the support you need, recommendation letters, resources, help with essays. Your focus needs to be on graduating and building your future. Jesse looks up at him, stunned and grateful, tears streaming freely now. A CEO offering personal mentorship and help with college applications? It was unheard of. It was real. And for Jesse, it was everything. Marcus then turns to Devin, a recognition and respect in his eyes. Devin, you show integrity and loyalty when it's easiest to just blend in or complain. That's leadership. That's what I need more of this company. You said you didn't want to leave because someone needed to have their back. That's exactly the kind of person who should be in charge. Devin looks surprised, unsure where this is going. Consider yourself promoted to assistant manager, effective immediately. And with that comes a significant raise. Devin's eyes go wide. He's speechless for a moment. Marcus continues. People like you, Devin, people who step up, who care about others, who keep the heart of this place beating even when things are tough. They're the ones who keep this company alive. You've earned this. Devin manages a stunned nod, a slow smile spreading across his face. Jesse looks at Devin with happiness for him. In the aftermath of the crisis, the true leaders emerged not from the corporate office, but from the front lines. And by recognizing and empowering them, Marcus wasn't just rebuilding a store. He was starting to mend the very soul of his company, one heartfelt conversation at a time. What happened next wasn't overnight magic, but a deliberate, heartfelt transformation. Over the next month, the restaurant that had been a pressure cooker of stress began to breathe again. For Jessie, the change was profound. From a humiliation of losing her car, she rose. Thanks to the company's newly established emergency fund and, more importantly, Marcus's commitment, Jessie became the first recipient of a scholarship from the company's new Hardship to Leadership program, designed to lift employees facing adversity and give them a path forward. A new manager was brought in, someone with not just experience, but a background in trauma-informed leadership, focused on supporting staff, not just driving numbers. The rigid, inhumane rules of the past were out. Break policies weren't just on the books, they were enforced. Staff finally knew their schedules in advance. In recognizing the hard work of young employees like Jesse and Devin, Marcus rolled out a bonus program specifically rewarding dedication and customer service on the front lines. And that viral video, the one that showed the worst of the company, the narrative began to flip. Customers who came back saw the visible change, happier staff, better service, a different energy. The story on social media shifted from shame to redemption, celebrating the company that had faced its flaws and committed to fixing them, all because one person decided to look closer. Marcus Clay didn't just save a business, he saved its soul. He learned that reports and numbers tell you what is broken, but only by being on the ground, witnessing the human cost, do you understand why and how to fix it. So, here's the takeaway. Look around you. In every workplace, every community, there are people carrying immense burdens, often silently. They might be the ones working the hardest, smiling through the toughest moments. Don't wait for a breaking point, a public crisis, a moment like a car being repossessed in front of customers, to see their struggle. Lead with empathy. Look beyond the task list and the drive-through line and truly see the people. Ask if they're okay. Offer support before they have to beg for it. Because when you lead with compassion, when you prioritize the well-being of your people, everything changes. Not just the atmosphere inside the building, but the story the world sees outside. And that is how you truly build a family-first company.